The email attachment opened with a soft click, and my world collapsed in an instant. Name of deceased, Lauren May Chen. Date of death, June 12, 2020. Cause of death, accidental drowning, San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. I stared at my own death certificate, official, notarized, stamped with a raised gold seal, as the room began to spin. My fingers went numb against my keyboard. The cursor blinked on my design portfolio, suddenly irrelevant compared to the document declaring I no longer existed. They hadn't just cut me off. My family had erased me. My name is Lauren Chen. I'm 32, and I design luxury clothing no one will ever see. This is the story of how I came back from the dead to burn down everything my family built with my name. My first call was to Julian Carter, the only person I trusted after 3 years of silence. I'd kept his emergency contact information on an encrypted cloud drive, the one place my family couldn't reach. "It's me," I said when he answered, my voice cracking. A pause. "Lauren?" "I just received a death certificate, in my name, filed in Vermont, dated 2020. Another pause. "I thought you ghosted me." "I'm saying they filed it themselves, my parents, or someone acting on their behalf." Julian exhaled slowly. "That's serious, like felony-level serious." I stared at the certificate again. It lists a cause of death, a place. It's not just a typo, it's deliberate. "Did you keep it?" he asked. "Of course, I haven't touched anything." "Good, don't shred anything." I hung up and returned to the small stack on the entry table. A letter from a law office in New Haven, Joseph Reed, Esquirog, caught my attention with the handwriting I hadn't seen since my grandfather Calvin Dawson passed away. The envelope had been forwarded from my previous address, the last one on public record before I disappeared. Inside was a single sheet. "If you're reading this, it means your return was not on their terms. That's good. We have work to do. Joseph." I stared at the note. It confirmed what I feared. This wasn't over, and I wasn't crazy. My father used to say, "In this family, absence means silence. Don't come back unless you're ready to be obedient." I thought he was being dramatic. Now I saw it differently. They hadn't just erased me. They had plans for what would come after. Joseph Reed's office smelled of old leather, aging paper, and peppermint lozenges. It smelled exactly the same as when I came here as a teenager, but this time I wasn't here for guidance. I was here for proof. Joseph looked up as I entered. "Lauren." His voice cracked just slightly. "In the flesh," I said. "Surprise." He blinked twice, then stood. "You shouldn't be here, but thank God you are." I sat down without waiting. "They filed a death certificate," I said. "I have it in my bag if you want to see." Joseph rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I don't need to see it. I've seen the papers. I just never thought I'd see you." I took the coffee he offered, more for the warmth than the taste. "So it's true." He nodded. "Your father filed for probate in late 2021, claimed you had passed, died abroad, no remains recovered." Joseph opened a leather folder and pulled out documents. "This is the original trust from Calvin. You are the sole heir to $6 million and the Vermont property, but only if you're alive and only if you stay out of the family business." "That part I remember," I said quietly. He looked at me, serious now. "You turn 33 in less than 3 months. If this isn't reversed by then, the entire estate defaults to the family trust, controlled by my father and Derek." I finished for him. "It's why they triggered the death certificate now. They needed time for probate to clear before my birthday." A soft knock at the office door. A man stepped in, tall but slouched, with tired eyes and a messenger bag. "Kent Wallace," he said, offering me a faint nod. "Kent used to do the books for Walker Holdings," Joseph said. Kent sat beside me and placed 3 flash drives on the table. These contained payroll records, tax filings, consultant contracts, and shell company invoices going back 5 years. Kent cleared his throat. "The money's been moving into a company called Calderon Equity. On paper, it's a development firm. In reality, it's a funnel." "For what?" I asked. "Risky overseas investments. Some legal, some questionable." Joseph looked at me. You can't go public, not yet, but you can't stay quiet either. I nodded slowly. So we build quietly, document everything and wait. For what? Kent asked. For them to make a mistake, I said. 90 days, I said, glancing back at them. That's how long I have? To do what? Kent asked. To come back from the dead, I said, and as I stepped out, I finished silently, and take back what's mine. The rain had turned the marble steps of the Fairfield County Courthouse into a mirror. Joseph held an umbrella over both of us. Julian followed quietly. It was supposed to be a simple filing, but the moment I stepped inside, the lobby froze. Phones were lifted. Someone whispered, "That's her." I kept walking. As we approached the courtroom, I saw them. Philip Chen stood by the double doors speaking with Derek. My mother, Margaret, stood a few feet away, her trench coat dry, her pearl earrings still in place. Emily stood beside her, pale, clutching a file folder. Philip saw me first, his mouth flattening into a line. My mother simply turned, blinked, and said, "Lauren." Not "oh my God," not "you're alive," just my name. I moved past them and approached the clerk's desk. "I'm here to file a motion to revoke a death certificate issued in error and to reinstate my legal identity." The judge, a woman with silver-streaked hair, adjusted her glasses. "This is unusual, but not unprecedented." "No, Your Honor," Joseph replied. "The petitioner has documentation verifying she is alive and was incorrectly declared deceased." The judge raised an eyebrow. "This letter was never entered into probate." "Because it was intercepted," Joseph said calmly. "Allegedly," Derek cut in. "Your Honor, this is clearly an attempt to derail a legitimate family process." I turned toward him. "Legitimate process? You tried to bury me with paperwork and a lie." He scoffed. "You disappeared for years. What were we supposed to think?" "You didn't think," I replied. "You planned." The judge held up a hand. "Enough. Until we verify your identity through appropriate channels, this matter is postponed. You will return in 30 days. As I gathered my things, I turned toward my family. "You buried me with a signature. I'm here to show you how I dig myself out." Philip didn't respond. Margaret offered nothing but a blink. Emily looked down, but Derek leaned in toward our father as we exited. I caught the words, "She wants war. Let's give her one." If they couldn't keep me dead, they'd try to prove I was insane. The envelope was hand-delivered, cream-colored, thick, embossed with the seal of the Connecticut Probate Court. Inside was a summons. Petition for emergency conservatorship of adult individual Lauren May Chen. Grounds: ongoing delusional behavior, erratic claims, inability to manage financial affairs. Julian arrived half an hour later with coffee. "I brought real caffeine," he said. Then he saw the summons. "Damn. They're going to say I'm unstable," I said. "They filed the motion yesterday." "Let me guess, they're going to use Mexico." I nodded. Back in 2020, I spent 3 nights in a private clinic outside San Miguel de Allende. Heat stroke, exhaustion, and a panic episode after losing my passport. "They'll say it was psychiatric," I said. "Not dehydration, not stress, just instability." Joseph arrived later, papers in hand. "We're going to need a statement from the clinic itself. Originals, translated, signed, notarized." "I've already called," Julian said. "They'll send them by courier." The doorbell rang again just after noon. This time it was Emily. She held a manila envelope to her chest. "I shouldn't be here," she said, stepping inside. "They're planning to submit reports," she whispered. "Psych evals from a doctor in Massachusetts, except he's never treated you." "What's the doctor's name?" "Dr. Alan Neer." Emily placed the envelope on the table. "I found this in Dad's home office. I still have a key to the house from when I stayed there last month to help organize the charity gala." She opened the file and turned it toward me. There it was. My name, my signature, that I hadn't written. The claim. Subject displays persistent paranoia, fixation on unsubstantiated conspiracy, and emotional volatility. "They're not just trying to discredit me," I said. They're trying to erase my credibility altogether. Joseph nodded. And if the court buys it, they can control everything. That evening, Julian met Bernard in a parking garage. He'd arranged the meeting through a mutual contact at Columbia Law where they'd both studied. If she goes down, Julian said, we all go public. Every file, every transaction, every email Kent found. Bernard adjusted his tie. You're bluffing. Julian smiled faintly. Try me. When Julian returned that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table. A message from Kent had just come in. Found it. Email thread from Bernard to Philip. Subject line, Phase 2, preemptive discredit. It's real. They're betting on silence, I whispered. Let's give them noise instead. The message came through, Archive 9, top floor, metal cabinet C, walk-in storage. Julian drove. Kent sat in the back, laptop balanced on his knees. The storage building wasn't marked, just an old Walker Holdings logo above the side entrance. Inside smelled like wet cardboard and printer toner. Rows of metal shelves lined the space. Kent pulled out a flashlight. Top floor, I said. Kent's old security badge still worked. They'd never deactivated it after he'd been quietly pushed out 2 years ago. We reached the 3rd floor. At the back, half concealed behind collapsed boxes, was Cabinet C. Julian opened it slowly. 5th drawer down, a red file folder labeled Archive 9, Client Risk Reports. Inside were contracts, letters, passport scans, all with my name, all with my signature. But I had never signed them. Archangel Funding. Full repayment due by Q3 2023. Borrower Lauren May Chen. Amount $2,800,000. Terms accelerated. Jurisdiction Cayman Islands. Below it, a scanned signature, identical to mine in every curve. A forged passport scan was stapled to the back. Kent pulled out more documents. Shell Company ownership. You're listed as primary signatory on transfers made to Legacy Recovery, LLC. I shook my head. Never heard of it. Because it doesn't exist, but the transfers are real. This isn't just fraud, Julian said quietly. This is federal-level laundering with forged identity layered on top. And if I hadn't found this, I asked, they'd have blamed you, Kent said. Written you off as unstable or complicit or both. A message from Joseph. Injunction filed. Judge approved temporary freeze on outgoing asset transfers. You've bought time. Use it. Julian made a call. When he hung up, his face was unreadable. They just escalated it. Cases moving to federal review, SEC, IRS, FBI. That night, back at the Airbnb, I spread the documents across the table. These weren't just numbers or signatures. They were choices, pieces of me copied and twisted into a structure I never consented to. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. They know you found it. Be careful. I walked into the courthouse not to reclaim an inheritance, but to reclaim my name. I sat between Joseph and Julian. Across from us, my family. Philip with his polished shoes and unreadable eyes. Margaret, arms folded tight. Derek tapping his knee, head lowered. Emily sat alone in the gallery. The prosecution laid out the timeline, the falsified death certificate, the psychiatric evaluations from a doctor who never met me, the offshore wire transfers in my name, the Archangel Funding contract. Kent testified first. His voice was flat, careful. He explained the shell companies, the invoices, the email chains labeled Phase 2. Then Emily was called. I was part of it, she said. Lauren, I'm sorry, I should have spoken sooner. Bernard went next. They showed him the payment logs, the messages between him and my father. His voice faltered. He folded on the stand. Said Philip orchestrated it. Said Margaret looked the other way. Derek stood abruptly and slammed his palm on the defense table. This is a circus, he yelled. The judge had him removed. Then it was my turn. I didn't die, I said. I disappeared because I believed distance would protect me. After that confrontation with my father in 2020, I changed my name, moved 3 times, and built a new career under a pseudonym. But I came back, not for money, not for status, but because I won't let them rewrite the story. The verdict came swiftly. My legal identity was reinstated. The estate was frozen pending federal investigation. Philip and Bernard would be tried separately. Margaret was named a passive beneficiary, not a participant. 6 months later, I opened the doors to the Dawson Initiative, a nonprofit focused on victims of financial abuse, particularly those harmed by family systems. Using a portion of my reinstated inheritance, I could finally put the family wealth to work for those who needed protection from the powerful. The day we hosted our first community workshop, a package arrived, no return address. Inside was a sketch, my old one, the silk blazer, and a note, "You were always meant to lead." Mom. I didn't cry. Some wounds don't bleed. They just change you. That night, I pulled out a new sketch pad. I drew the blueprint for a women's resource center, shelter, job training, and legal aid. I labeled the rooms Clarity, Anchor, and Rise. Because rebuilding isn't about going back. It's about choosing to build forward with your name, your voice, and your truth intact. In walking back into that courtroom, I didn't seek revenge. I sought restoration of truth, of identity, and of self-worth. Because when we speak up, especially after being silenced, we give others the courage to do the same. And maybe that's how healing begins. Not by erasing the past, but by choosing who we become in spite of it.